Hello, everyone. Today I'm looking at Wheel World. This was one of the few indie games that came out on Game Pass recently. And at first, when I was playing it, I wasn't really sure if I was really meshing with it. But once I realized it's a relatively short game, I actually kind of got into it and beat it. So I think it's a Nordic production, like Sweden or something, and it's a very simple game, very simple mechanic, where essentially you just have a bike and you ride your bike and you race people, and that's pretty much it. But it has like an open world where you explore, you find little hidden items, you modify your bike, you change out parts of your bike, and you can just tell like a lot of love and attention went into just the main mechanic of just riding. For example, you only have forward momentum. You can't actually go backwards. You have to press Y to get off your bike and walk it backwards. You have basically R to go forward and X to boost, and that's pretty much the main controls. I mean L to brake, and yeah, that's I mean that's pretty much it. And the thing I like about it is that the game's soundtrack is very ethereal. Well, not ethereal, but it has a certain vibe to it. It's done by one band called Italians Do It Better. And so they do kind of emphasize that in the game itself, that it kind of has this dream pop kind of soundtrack that's always going on, which definitely does fit the environment as well as the races themselves. Something, I guess, just really quickly on the music that I really enjoyed was that usually during the boss races, what they love to what they do that I love is adaptive music, where for only those races, instead of having just the instrumentals, they have the vocals kick in, and so suddenly it's a heightened experience and a heightened level. And it just the basic premise of this game, it's the story isn't really that important, but the lore and the tone of the game, I would say, is actually pretty interesting. Wherein you wake up at this girl called Kat, just randomly, no idea who she is, and she meets this guy called Scully, who is this floating talking skull. And so this whole world that you're in revolves around bikes and is bike culture, bike gods, bike lore, bike civilization, essentially. And so each, area of the map has its own kind of culture and style. So you have the farmlands, you have the inner city, you have the mountainous region, and then you have last region. I don't remember what, like the lowlands or something. And so, for example, like people believe in this lore and this idea that yeah, what's happened is that there's a spirit realm, and when people pass onto the spirit realm, they are taken on this like spirit highway, and they are sent to Mount Send, where the moon is apparently, or you can go from the moon from the top of the mountain. And also, the name of their god is called Cog, and they have this whole history about the first peloton who, forged the bikes in the flames of the first age and and things like this. So they have like proper lore, but everything's just bike coded, which is pretty funny. Um, and so yeah, the main thing is that the access to the spirit realm has been cut off. As it turns out later, there's this big industrial kind of corporate complex that is draining off and cutting off the spirit energy and using it for corporate greed and power, and using it as fuel for bicycles rather than people actually pedaling. And so it's your job to kind of race against the guy at the final stage. And there's this biking legend who comes back from the dead, who realizes they're using his friend's energy, their spirit energy, to fuel their bikes, and so he puts a stop to it once you beat him in the race, obviously. But yeah, that being said, it's just a very comfy world. It has this interesting, cell shaded aesthetic to it. It reminded me a lot of the other game Flock, where the characters are kind of, bulbous and bumpy and kind of looks like, corporate art kind of people, where they're all purple and light blue and orange and whatever. Um, but but yeah, for the most part, the game is just very comfy, very interesting. And because the races themselves aren't super hard, it really motivated me to just say, well, just one more race. I'll just grind this, I'll just grind that. and it's very straightforward and easy. It just has a nice flow to the gameplay. Also, it has a portal potty system, which is just your fast travel, but it's just instantaneous. It's fast. So that's what I love about indie games, is that they're just very quick to load. They're very small in terms of the size of the game, and so everything is very quick. And so when I beat this game, it literally told me I had spent exactly 6 hours 12 minutes on it, which was I was very happy with. So, like, it's not the greatest game, it's not the best game. I was playing the first few levels, like, this is fine. But then I thought, well, it's really short, so I might as well kind of finish it. And so when you start the game, Scully is like, okay, we need to, you need to get on this bike, and you're the first human I met. We have to restore, the connection to the spirit realm. And the way you do that is that, he's like, oh no, but the bike that I was made from, or that I had, was called this legendary bike. And when he came into the human world, it broke up into like 7 pieces. And so you have to, and they've been distributed amongst the people, and they're in these trophies. And so you have to beat the 4 bosses of each area of the map in order to get the legendary pieces back and rebuild the bike. So very basic kind of hero's journey kind of stuff. And so what occurs is that the base, and so you can't just, of course, challenge these guys. What you have to do first is you have to get your rep up, and your reputation is essentially increased by winning races and doing side objectives and finding like weird things around the map. Also around the map, you find extra parts for your bike. You find little coupons flying around, which are also used as your currency for buying new bike parts and things like that. So now we move on to the sort of the more gameplay elements. So the bike itself, its customization is pretty extensive. You can customize the handlebars, both wheels. You can have different wheels if you want. The frame, the seat, and the chain. And I'm pretty sure I'm forgetting something else, but you can customize like every part of this bike to almost a ridiculous extent. And there are things like, things that are better for the farmlands for like off-road racing. For the mountain areas, you want things that boost aero as a different stat. Oh yeah, and each one of these, they give they give a stat bonus, but a very slight stat bonus. Like, I never felt there was, until maybe the end of the game, where there was one bike that was like, oh yeah, this gives you a totally unfair advantage. Even when you do eventually end up building the legendary bike, its main legendary attribute is that it drip feeds your boost power. So it doesn't actually have the best stats. It just gives you a lot of boost power so you can go fast, but it's not the best turning. It doesn't have the best braking, etc. And so you can actually customize it with other things later. I guess I should just mention it here. There's one thing that I found absolutely hilarious, where you're in the end area and there's one shopkeeper, and most things cost like 20 coupons. They're quite expensive. And the way you get coupons is by basically by winning races and by doing certain certain achievements around the map, like finding like there's a bunch of rings. You drive through all the rings and it says secret course completed, or you do this big jump, and then you talk to these quadcopter drone things, and they basically give you coupon rewards based off the rewards and side quests you've done. So that's really cool. So you can grind that out, and then buy all the bike parts and customize your bike. But there's one place at the very end where every piece is 5 coupons. It's very, very cheap rather than 20. I think my second, no, this is my second favorite. And all these parts are called the body parts, and you can build the body bike. And the body bike is the most horrifying piece of like body horror I've ever seen, where every piece of the bike is literally like a human like severed limb or something. So for example, the seat itself is a giant hand, the handlebars are hands, both the wheels are just a series of legs like the Isle of Man. The bell is a giant lips, and so when you finally build it, it's the most horrifying thing you've ever seen. I'm laughing because it's cel shaded. And what made me laugh even harder is that I actually won a race with it, and I got an achievement for winning a race with the body bike. They knew you'd have to build this monstrosity and actually use it. So I really do appreciate that, I guess. But my favorite build is probably the gamer bike, where literally you have the seat is like a secret lab gamer chair, and your handlebars are a desk with the PC. I just thought that was so funny. So this game definitely does have a sense of humor. And there's other things too, like you have like the wiener bike, where it's like one of those hot dog cars, but it's the entire bike. It's like it makes your frame insanely massive and impractical. So there's definitely that component. But yeah, you just basically go around every area beating racers, because in order to actually challenge certain bosses, you need to get your rep up. So it goes from 10, 20, 30, 40, and from each area. And from each race, okay, if you win the race, yes, you get rep, but there's also a lot of other ways to do it. So you can either get first placed, place top three, so that's 2 and 1. And the other thing is you can beat the time record by Tom, who's kind of the like biking legend. And the fourth thing you can do that I actually really like this is that you can get the cat letters. And so there, every single race has this, where it's very old school, where you'll have a K, an A, and a T somewhere in the lap, somewhere in the race, that if you collect all three and win, you get an extra point of rep. And it's basically like a DK country kind of setup. And so there's no bonus level, just a thing. But I really, really enjoyed that. I always wanted to get all three letters for every race, because it felt, I don't know, a bit of exploration and adding to the stress that you have to kind of veer off a little bit on the course to find each one and win as well. And some races, the letters would be placed along all the shortcuts of the level anyway. So it's kind of implied if you want to really perfect the level, you have to find the three letters anyway. Aside from that, yeah, what was actually funny with my experience that I didn't realize is that, so at most you can get 4 per race, and so there's roughly 10 per area or something like that. And so once you have enough rep, you can challenge the boss. And what I did by accident, I didn't even realize this, is because you're supposed to, they kind of give you a preview of the 4 main bosses and who you're supposed to do, and it's supposed to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 4th guy's in the inner city. But I just did the farmlands to the west first, and then I wandered into the city and thought, oh, this is the second one. And I realized, oh, I need 40 rep to even face this guy. And so I'm like, oh, I have to get perfect on like every single race here. I'm like, okay, I guess that's how the game wants me to do it. I just have to, do perfect. And I did that, and I realized, oh, wait a second. Wasn't this the hardest guy supposed to be, here? And I realized in the other 2 sections of the map, I already had more than enough rep, like over 40, to fight the bosses in each area, and I didn't have to do any side races. And I usually would, but I was kind of aiming to kind of, grind out this game and do it quickly, so that's what I ended up doing. Yeah, I guess that also is another thing I'd like to talk about, is for the buying of the parts. It doesn't make any sense why the parts are so expensive, and you don't have a lot of coupons at the beginning of the game, so you actually ended up not buying a lot of the parts till the end of the game, and mostly they were joke parts. And really that kind of makes sense, because a lot of the parts you can't buy don't give you huge stat boosts. It's really based on your skill. There are some frames, or some chains rather, that do give you different gear sets, and I was wondering if they were going to do that in this game, because they're so into their bike world essentially. And yeah, sure enough, there are quite a few frames that either give you 2 gear or 3 gear sets, that as you're going along, you press LB and RB to shift gears to go to the next gear, and gives you a speed boost basically. I personally didn't like it, because it was just it was enough to just focus on the race at hand and just win basically. And there definitely were a lot of close calls. It's not like a super easy game, but it's it's hard enough. And the soundtrack and the vibe just makes it pretty iconic. So yeah, it's a very simple indie game. I definitely would check it out. The last I think piece about it is the final area is the 5th area. So I was really looking at this game like, yeah, this isn't the best thing, but I just want to kind of beat it. And so I kept getting thrown for a loop, because I thought, okay, cool. I just have to beat the two bosses in the eastern parts of the world, and then I can just get into the final race with the final boss. And so I do that. I go back to the starting shrine. I go through it. Turns out there's a fifth final map. It's like, oh my god. And I have like 45 rep at this point, and they said in order to do the final race, you need 100 rep. I'm like, okay, so they do want me to do everything. No, except that each race you do in this world counts for +3. So by basically just beating all the races in that world, I had just enough, 102, to do the final race. And then I thought, okay, finally, this is the final thing where you're fighting, racing against, the corporation, like this little tiny, corporate guy who basically wants to turn souls into bike energy so they don't have to pedal. And so I thought, okay, once I beat him, then I might have to like race God or something, but I wasn't sure. So anyway, I beat the final boss, and then it sends me to the next portal. I thought, okay, they were kind of alluding this is the end of the game, and I go through there, and it's a whole other map, and I'm like, oh my god, I was about to rage quit. Like, I don't want to do any more of this game. I had the perfect final experience, and now. And so I started riding through this map, and it was an entire winter snow map where Mount Send is, where they've been trying to get to, where there's, the god of biking. And so at first I was like, okay, there's actually not anyone really here. There's no, no challenges or no other races. So I thought, okay, this is kind of weird. Maybe I just have to do a boss fight. And I ended up just going through the whole level, and the very last section of this actual map is like the victory lap. You just ride to the end of this map and you beat the game and you kind of fly to the moon. I said, oh, okay, cool, that's fine. But you can totally tell that the last level or the third level here was totally designed to be a continuation of the game, and they just decided, no, they started building it. They're like, no, we'll just end the game here. It's like we've given the player all they need, because especially when the second level is this giant corporate evil, nightmare world, it's really weird to follow that up with a winter level. So I could see their vision where they wanted to do more and more levels, but for what it is, I think it was a very solid, simple experience. Again, just over 6 hours. Didn't even have to grind out everything, but if I wanted to, I could have. But yeah, I really enjoy these shorter games. I wasn't sure at first if I was going to invest in it, but it was simple and easy enough, and the music was good enough to just keep me in there and to be like, yeah, okay, Wheel World is worth playing. Yes. Not sure what else to say about it. It's really fun to see kind of what max speeds you can get, how crazy you can go downhill, basic mechanics. The last world is pretty difficult, where you had to do a lot of resets. I like how there are lots of hidden things around the map, and it feels very, forgiving for how much it punishes you or rewards you for, losing races or winning races. And yeah, there's no real incentive to have to do everything either. It's just a very fun little game. But I really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to see what else the studio possibly makes. There's no voice acting. I don't know what I'd want from a sequel, but it's like a small coincided experience. And what's really nice about it too is with the open world, you can just teleport almost anywhere, so there's no issue with trekking through things. So yeah, it had a good feeling of progress, and yeah, I know, I just like games like these, and it just focused on one thing, just biking, just bikes, mountain bikes, just all the bike autism that you can fit into one game. And yeah, I appreciate it for that, for being simple and forthcoming, at least. Anyway, that's pretty much all I got to say about Wheel World. Yeah, I guess I'll see you guys later.